Hey fellow ServiceNow devotees, get ready to embark on a journey through the fascinating realm of ServiceNow with none other than the service docs themselves. I'm James Downs.
And I'm Rush here. Whether you're new to ServiceNow, pre-Aspen veteran, or just a curious soul, we're here to bring you ServiceNow curiosities, exhilarating interviews, and don't forget the infamous A to Z game.
But mostly, it's about the random ramblings of two middle-aged guys with a funny story to tell, right?
Yeah, true. The ducks are ready, the mics are on, and we can't wait to have you join us. Let's dive in.
Hello and welcome back to the Service Ducks podcast. Today we have none other than Michael Kelly, Principal Solution Architect at Soprasteria. Hopefully I said that correctly. Just to give you a little intro.
You did a better job in introducing that name than I did with Lauren.
Oh, with Lauren. Look, Lauren McManaman.
I would take him Michael. It's easier to say Michael Kelly.
Yeah, that's
easy.
That's it. Just to give you a little intro into our podcast and the way we tend to do things on here. We tend to just talk about your journey into ServiceNow, when you started, whether you work for partners, etc., etc. Talk a little bit about your background with CTA as well. We know you're a Certified Technical Architect, as well as touching on some of your expertise around maybe ITOM and things like that. Saving some time at the end for our typical alphabet challenge, where you need to beat Lauren McManaman, who's currently sitting at the top of the leaderboard. So welcome, Michael.
Cheers, James.
Can I just call that? Is there a slight selfish agenda there, James, where you asked him about ITOM expertise? Because I know you've got an ITOM project coming up.
I know. Slightly, yeah. There may well be some, service mapping slash predictive AI ops coming up.
May or may not be. I've got a bit of a curveball as well, actually. So I'm quite up there with LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, right? And I did you see my comment this morning? If you were to
I thought that was sneaky, actually.
Do you know what? I always do a Friday thought, right, Michael? I don't know whether you see this, but I always do a Friday thought, and it's usually something I think is quite clever. Well, I think it is. Maybe not. But recently I've been picking on quotes or just random stuff, right? And today's was, if you had one question to ask a CTA, Certified Technical Architect, let's keep saying it, what would you ask? And actually, we've got quite a few in there. There was no comedy one I'm not going to read out. It did make me laugh, though, but it's completely irrelevant to ServiceNow. So we might ask a couple of those. The other thing I had to call out is, for anyone watching the video, come on, give some appreciation to the features. There you go. And Michael, we will get on topic, don't worry, but I just want to call out the process that James and I went through this. So if you can't see, James and I have got hoodies, right? With that Service Ducks logo on, I've got my Service Nerd thing on the arm. Boom. You haven't got one of those, James?
I don't.
But it was about an hour-long conversation of which hoodie should we buy? What colour should we go for? No, that one looks all right. We should have actually just recorded it because it's quite funny. But I think what we've landed on, right, and let me just describe them. I've gone for kind of a pale blue because I think blue's my colour. James has gone for a yellow.
A full duck yellow. Yeah.
I just thought you'd have gone for a McLaren orange, James.
Oh, I know. I go for the bold colours.
You've gone for the bold colours. And what we've actually ended up with is if we were side by side, we'd look like, Bunny and Ducky from Toy Story 4.
Yeah, that was it.
Or one of those colour wheels you get in when you go into DIY stores.
That's it, a colour wheel.
I like that.
This is how I'm feeling today, pretty blue. So I wanted to mention that and just bring that up because for me it's exciting times. It was quite humorous, but it's exciting. Yeah. So let's move swiftly back on topic again. Michael, massive thanks for joining us and spending a bit of time having a bit of a laugh with us today. So let's just, if we kick off, let's just talk a little bit about you, what your journey is with ServiceNow. How did you get to become? Let's start with that, right?
Yeah.
How did you first get into ServiceNow? Because that's always an interesting one.
Yeah, that's true.
So it was partly completely by accident. So I went to join a new company, and they were just about to implement ServiceNow, and they said, "Doing this thing, are you interested?" And we was like, "Okay, yeah." So I picked it up. That was back in the Berlin days,
Ooh.
and I've not looked back.
So what were you doing before then?
So I graduated university just as the credit crunch hit. It was like, oh, what do I do job wise? So
Well,
I ended up doing a few support jobs similar to what you guys have done.
yeah.
Yep.
Mine was more sort of infrastructure-y, so sort of network
Yeah.
support, and I worked for a company that did like learning management solutions. So people would phone up from like IKEA or whatever and say, I can't access my learning, and we'd have to go in and fix the problem.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
so then I went to work for another big MSP who begins with a C. Um, and
Oh, just to let you know, you can mention partners, but you have to put a pound in the jar.
Pound in the
That
jar,
pound
that's
gets saved up for mine and James's Christmas fund. Just
That's
letting
it.
you know.
So went to work for a Capita who aren't actually a ServiceNow partner anymore.
Yeah.
And they were implementing ServiceNow, so we implemented a domain separated instance with ended up being about 200 customers on, sort of split public sector and private sector. So it was a bit of a baptism of fire, and I think I probably learned a hell of a lot in
That's
those
it.
first
Thrown in the
couple of
deep end.
years than I would have maybe if I'd just been a normal customer doing a sort of normal ITSM implementation.
Yeah.
Um,
Last week we talked a lot about our kind of inspirations from our career, and we talk a lot about our kind of journey into it as well. And it's good to hear that you come from that kind of support background as well. Do you think anything from your first few jobs, Capita, or where you did network support and things like that? Do you still see some of those traits and things that you picked up then? You still have the same kind of traits leading into what you do today as a certified technical architect? Do you see
yeah,
it's
absolutely. I
what
think
you become, sort of thing?
there's a lot of troubleshooting skills that potentially you pick up, or
Yeah,
customer service skills that you pick up at those early days that actually probably carry on through you right through your career. Like they say you can't. It's just good tips and tricks that you pick up that actually, I probably am still useful today, and I think probably
mm,
did stand me in good, especially around difficult customers, dealing with difficult customers. We all get them from time to time, and
yeah,
it's how you manage them and how you, and also sort of a bit of bringing people into your side of the way of thinking. I think that's probably quite a key thing. I know you covered that a lot on CMA as well. How you can sort of get your opinion across to a customer and say that this is how I think you should do it,
yeah,
which is quite good.
yeah. That's cool. Um, what I was going to say is, at what point during your time at Capita did you think, oh, actually, now I want to kind of further my career as a ServiceNow admin or a developer and join a partner? What about a partner did you want to join? Was it TESM at that time? Was that your first one?
So no, my first
Partner?
Pound
partner
in the jar.
was Engage.
Oh, okay, of course. Yeah.
Back when they were Innovise, that was
Oh,
Oh,
wow, yeah.
a
God,
long
yeah.
time ago.
In fact,
Um,
that's 3 partners. That's £3. I'm
That's £3
keeping a
as well.
tally.
We're doing well. We've got a few rounds going now.
so yeah, I went to Innovise as they were then, and it was all
Right.
because big organisation, new to a product, didn't necessarily know what it's worth. Obviously, saw the bright lights of here's some more money and some more experience. So
Of course. Yeah.
off I went.
When
And
was that then? What kind of year are you talking? So you kind of customer to then partner. When
yeah,
you
I'm probably talking 2015, maybe 2015, 2016.
Yep. Yeah, it
Um,
was about the same time as I did that. Yeah. 20.
Mm,
Oh no, I was 2014. I think I might have been.
so yeah, went off, did some really cool stuff within Innovise as they were then. Uh, been all over. Did I don't know whether it still is, but it was the biggest ServiceNow implementation in the UK at one point,
nice.
for a bank that's based up in Scotland. Um, and then learned a load of good skills. Sort of worked my way up as most of us do, sort of
Mm,
TC, STC,
yeah.
and then uh, Engage ESM as they were then got bought by Atos. Um,
Yes.
and as we all know, that can be an interesting journey.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe it's time to move on. So I moved on to TESM, and then I was at TESM a month, and they got bought by um, who James now works for.
We're very good.
So did you? I've got two questions. I best go quick because I always forget because I'm getting old. But have you two worked together before then? You and James, or James and you?
Only at
One
the
particular
one that ends
company.
with C.
Well, I'm thinking now, and this is a whole new game, isn't it? Should we scrap the alphabet challenge and just go with this? I've got another question about the alphabet challenge because James and I had this debate the other day, right? Because we use the words, we use the phrase alphabet challenge or A to Z game interchangeably. And in true marketing fashion, we've decided we need to hit on a specific phrase and keep using it. So I think we've gone with, what have we gone with? Alphabet challenge.
Yeah,
right. Okay. We've gone with that. Slightly irrelevant, but it just came to my head while I thought about it. So when you joined,
we tend to do a lot of our admin during the podcast, don't
we? Write it up, keep a list. So when you joined the partner, though, so if your background was kind of infrastructure support before, were you then kind of pigeonholed? Another term I love. Were you then pigeonholed into kind of infrastructure ITOM based stuff then, or were you kind of jack of all trades and on your way?
Like all of us, I started in ITSM as we all do, and implemented that. And then I suppose as ITSM was sort of dropping off, I was looking for something else. And I think a lot of partners back in those days were sort of starting to think, well, maybe we should get people to specialize in stuff. So I sort of moved into the ITOM space because I wanted to, rather than. And I think actually, having done it for so long now, I think, and brought people through that process. I think if you've got a bit of an infrastructure background or you've done stuff with infrastructure before, you almost understand what the other person on the other side of the desk is going through, so you can have those conversations a lot easier.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously you becoming this kind of like ITOM specialist. I think any questions about ITOM, it was always, I'll go speak to Michael. Let's get Michael involved. Are you able to kind of keep up, or even since moving to Sopra Steria, have you been able to kind of expand your abilities there now? Have you
probably not in the
anything
ITOM
else?
space? I think I've probably to a certain extent gone as far as I think I probably could with that.
Yeah.
I know a customer that you're currently working with, we were doing some quite cool stuff in the cloud space that even ServiceNow had not touched before. So that was an interesting experience. But I think my soft skills now, I think I'm probably honing my soft skills. I've finally been dragged kicking and screaming into actually managing people, which I've managed to avoid now for 10 years or whatever it is. So I think I think the move, I'm probably now focusing more on my soft skills and that side of the fence, and probably more strategy and all that sort of stuff that potentially I wasn't doing as much. I was doing a little bit of it, but I wasn't doing as much as I am now at the previous partner.
Okay, so that's an interesting kind of word you throw in there, strategy, right? Because we spoke to Jeremy Duncan. There's a name I can pronounce. We spoke to Jeremy Duncan a few months back now, actually, Certified Master Architect, and we discussed the difference between Certified Master Architect and Certified Technical Architect. Where do you see the kind of boundaries are between the two? So James being CMA.
I agree with the way Jeremy explained it, actually. I think that's a really good way of explaining it. The fact that actually a master architect is more talking at that C-suite level. They're designed to sort of have more of those roadmap strategic conversations. And I think a CTA is more around the technical solution. So if you've got a technical question or you want to understand technically how something will bolt together, or how you put together a solution technically, then I think that's probably where a CTA sits in that space perfectly. But I think as everybody does, and I'm sure James will probably vouch for this, there probably is a bit of a grey area, and I think a lot of people are moving into that grey area. So I'd say I'm probably doing a bit more CMA stuff now in my current role, where I was definitely doing a lot more CTA stuff in my previous role.
That's really interesting, and that's something actually I was just kind of identifying. It's like when you, I think strategy spans both. If you were to kind of contain both the roles as you and Jeremy discussed it, strategy spans both. And for me, I think what we're saying is a CTA would kind of input into that roadmap from with CMAs. But it's quite interesting that you're kind of say you almost feel like you're not morphing into the role, but doing a bit of the element of the kind of what I would call enterprise architecture piece as well, right?
Yeah.
That's very, very interesting. So there is I don't know whether you saw this a few weeks ago. So I was looking at trying to get my CTA. So I was thinking to myself, right, okay, certified technical architect, that floats my boat. Yeah, we discussed all this with Jeremy, what suits different people. That floats my boat. So I kind of went on a journey to think, right, okay, I'm going to try and get my CTA. I'm going to try and register for this course, not knowing all the ins and outs of how to register, and I had to be faster than a bolt of lightning to click the button. I didn't know any of this. So when did you take? I guess my question is, let's go to the CTA now. What cohort were you on, and how did that process look like for you? What was your journey?
So I
Let's
was
talk
on the
about that.
pilot. So I was on the first ever cohort. So
Really?
I'm certificate number 10.
Really?
Wow.
Wow. You should put that on your LinkedIn profile, right?
That's it.
Certificate number
Employee
10.
number 10. Yeah.
So I was actually put forward for the program. So I think the top 6 all got a couple of places each globally. So yeah, we basically had a place, and I was asked, did I want to do it? And I said yes. So again, I was at the right place at the right time. So
Yeah.
I should have really bought a lottery ticket, because yeah, that was
So you didn't go through the clicky button process. It was kind
no.
of
And I think
partners had. Okay.
I'm very much with you guys that I think, having been on both sides of the fence now, and I'll probably go into more of this in a bit, but I've now been a candidate and an assessor. So I understand the whole process now. I would probably say that I think people probably should be more selected on ability rather than who can click the button first.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing, until the day. And I stupidly, like a mug, thought, I'm going to walk my dog this morning. And I got back 15 minutes too late.
Time?
Yeah, I've got time. I didn't even think, it didn't even cross my mind I've had time. I just thought, I'll just click it now or later. Doesn't really matter.
I'll get in.
So what did the course look like then? So you've kind of landed yourself in the course. And let's be fair, right? Let's be fair. It's not at the minute. It shouldn't be judged on who can click the button fastest, and that's not what we're trying to say, right? So I think let's just big it up a little bit. You were selected to go on it, so that's quite prestigious, right? So credit to you for being selected and in that category where they thought, Michael's the guy, we want him to represent us. Go and get a CTA. So it's a great opportunity. So when you got on the course, though, what did that look like? What does the structure look like? Tell us, how did it work?
It was a bit of a weird one, because they were sort of not still building it. It was built, but they weren't sure the structure would work in the way it did. So the way it works is you get basically a load of training via Now Learning. So they release a certain group of modules every week that you've got to go and do. And then off the back of that, you will have initially it was multiple presentations. Then they realized that didn't work, so then said a single presentation about a particular topic. So you'd have to produce sort of, I don't know, a few slides on a topic. So it might be domain separation, for example, or it might be security, or it could be development processes or governance. Why should we have governance in ServiceNow? Things like that. And then you would present back on a Friday afternoon. I don't know why they chose a Friday afternoon, but they chose a Friday afternoon.
Yeah, why not? We do a Friday afternoon for this podcast.
True. To then present back to the team. So each week they would have a wheel of death, and each week a cohort.
Sure, it's not called that.
A cohort would get selected, or multiple cohorts would get selected to present what they've done. So it was a bit of they call it what's the term they used? Blended learning environment. So you do a bit of self learning, a bit, and I
Mm.
think the big thing that I found really useful was actually they mixed the cohorts up really well. So we had really technical people like me, but then we had more sort of processy or more sort of not so
Okay.
technical people.
So going into it then, did you when you first landed? So you've been recognised. You're on the cohort. You go through the presentations. Was there a moment um, when you thought I'm not ready for this, or was you know what I mean? Was the things that you learned that thought I'm out of my depth, or did you just think I'm ready for this? I've already been doing architecture for quite a long time, and this is just validating and bolstering or giving me more kind of tools
No,
in my toolbox.
I think it was the sort of more um, more theory based stuff. So like TOGAF or IT for IT or the governance stuff that I was like, I've
Mm.
not really touched this before. This is all new to me. I'm a bit out of my comfort zone here. So the technical
Yeah.
stuff, like some of the technical stuff, they're doing the next experience stuff where you had to download something and you play with all these different components, and it was like, wow, this is even a bit more technical than I'm used to. So I think being the first course, they were trying to get the level right. So I think, and ServiceNow, one thing they are really good at is feedback. So we were constantly going through that feedback loop and updating them so that actually the next course and the course after that would be a lot better than the course that we were on. I think it was interesting being a bit of a trailblazer and sort of
Mm.
being involved in that early stage of that process, because 9 times out of 10, usually when we get to it as a partner, it's usually been through a few routines and it's
Yeah.
actually a
Fewer
tried
names.
and tested process. Um, so yeah, I think that they were the bits. I was happy in the technical space, but the more sort of theoretical space, I think, was a bit out of my comfort zone. I think I'm a better architect now off the
Mm.
back of having been through that process and learnt that extra stuff, that potentially if I'd just been a normal architect playing in the ITOM space, I might not necessarily have done it. And I think I probably am giving a much better value to our customers now than I was beforehand, because now I start talking about things like governance or making sure they've got the right processes and the right controls in place to deliver what they're trying to deliver.
Yeah, that's interesting because I think that was one of the main questions that came from your LinkedIn post, wasn't it, Russ? In terms of they really wanted to understand what did you get out of the CTA program that you actually use on a day-to-day basis in your project delivery. How much have you changed what you do and your approach to things? I think that was the main
Yeah,
questions that
I
came.
and I think that for me is like that's like an enlightening sentence that you mentioned there before, because it's when you say, because you got CMA and CTA, Certified Master Architect and Certified Technical Architect. I'm saying them out loud in case anyone's not really following and just joining at this point. But you kind of take it, I don't know, subconsciously when you hear the word technical, you think, well, it's all technical stuff, right? It's all about I don't know, how to split functions in a script include,
Coding.
or when to create
Yeah, yeah,
actions, and
yeah.
you think that naturally, right? But you don't know, you kind of take for granted that, well, of course there's got to be governance and processes, so that's obvious stuff. So it's
Yeah.
interesting that you mentioned that, because I think that's, for me personally, that's the bits that I would take away from it, that validation that, oh, I do that, but it's called this. Oh, right, okay, I didn't realize that was the formal name for it. So that's really interesting for me, and I'm sure a lot of people listening will take that away as well. Like you said, based on the LinkedIn comments that we had.
Yeah. So what I've got a question about if there was someone like it could have been Russ or anybody who is maybe senior, maybe they're an architect, maybe they're a technical consultant. They've heard of it, they've seen people go through it. What is truly the value for them in attending the course? So, like, what do they personally get out of it, other than yes, you got more skills, potentially a pay rise? Um, is there anything else that you get out of it? What's in it for them for
I
attending
think
this course?
it makes you gives you that extra roundedness in service now. I think potentially I'm quite happy now. I've done. I'm happy in the ITOM space. I'm happy in the ITSM space. You check me at CSM or FSM or even GRC or SecOps now. I'm quite happy to architect that because I understand the platform
Okay.
as a whole. And actually
Yep.
now, um, I've got enough knowledge and enough experience to sort of go, okay. I don't. There might be bits I don't know, but actually, from an architectural perspective, it's all architected roughly in the same way. So actually, bolting those bits together isn't a challenge anymore.
Yeah, yeah. So, what advice do you have for individuals? Presumably, you would, promote trying to go through this particular program for individuals. Would you suggest that they need to be a certain level before applying? I don't know if you feel that maybe the CTAs have become diluted by the amount of people that are applying and the amount that are being, certified on a yearly basis. Um, what would you suggest is who is the ideal candidate to apply for a CTA?
I think
To
it's
apply
probably
for a
somebody that's
CTA?
done architecture for a while and is
Yeah,
comfortable in that role. I think, as anything, you're always learning, but I think actually probably somebody who's in that sort of junior architect or sort of that architecture level, who wants to sort of bring their career up a little bit further, I think probably is the ideal candidate for that. Somebody who's got plenty of experience, understands the platform, understands areas of the platform, probably not just one area, probably multiple areas. I think you've got to have a bit of depth of knowledge, but not necessarily. As we all know, nobody's ever going to know the whole platform now. It's far too big.
yeah,
You can't know it all, but at least have probably a couple of areas that they feel comfortable in, and then I'd say definitely, yeah. I know it's a challenge at the moment, and obviously ServiceNow have not made it easy to get people onto courses. But I think if that's your goal, if that's what people really want to do, I think then yeah, it's definitely some worth
So,
value
so
in doing it.
do you think, and here's an open question to both of you actually, because I don't think I've asked you this, James, but do you think, because the way I understand it, I think there's one cohort per region per year. Don't quote me on that. Please don't comment in if I'm wrong. This is our podcast. We'll go with it. But I think there is like one for Europe, one for APAC, one for North America. I think. Let's go with that.
I think you're right, Russ. I think based on
So,
what I've seen, I think there is one per region.
so
yeah.
let's pretend that's the case. But do you think they should be increasing that per year? Because like I said, from what I saw, it's quite hard to get a place on there. So the demand for it is quite high, right? So should that increase, or does that then, you know what I mean? Does that then bring everyone up to the level? And
I think you've got to get the balance right. I think you can't have it so that everybody. And I know on my course there was a few people that failed that I wasn't expecting to fail.
oh right, okay.
It was actually.
Oh, so you can fail then?
Yeah, they actually set the bar quite high. I think I don't think they got it. I never did find out, but based on conversation, yeah, because it's all done on the final exam, for want of a better word, and James would have been through a similar process, is that you have what's called a capstone review. So you have to give a presentation about a fictitious scenario, and you then get marked against what they call a rubric, which is basically just a set of criteria. And if you meet all the right goals and you've attended all of the virtual learning sessions, and I think they also did quizzes for us. I don't know whether they still do that, but we had a quiz every 2 weeks in Now Learning that we had to pass. If you tick all those boxes, then there you go. Here's your CTA.
Right. Okay.
So
That's interesting. So I didn't know that I didn't even think whether you passed or failed. I just thought, well, you do the course, you've submitted that amount of time. But I think it's kind of a moderately pass rather than a failure. But going back to what we said last week, let me just make this clear. Failure is just an opportunity to succeed. We said that last time. Let's keep going.
That's it.
So don't feel disheartened if you
Reapply for a
haven't
different
failed.
region.
Yeah, but you reapply for a different reason and be fast on the button. Okay, so I'm conscious of time, but that was some insightful information there, Michael. So, but what I do want to do is
you also get some decent merch as well.
Oh, we love the merch.
You've ruined it for me. You
That was
ruined
literally where you were going.
I was where I was going.
And a nice little pin badge as well.
Right,
Very nice.
Michael, you have destroyed my next bit. We haven't really, but I was going to go to some LinkedIn questions, right? People have been messaging with their questions. One of them was, do you get a pin badge to wear at events? You have proven that is correct. Do you wear it?
I've worn it once to a ServiceNow user group meeting, but I've not worn it since then.
Did anyone actually notice?
Only one of my ex-colleagues.
Was that to kind of poke and go, ha, or was it, oh, CTA, I didn't know.
No, actually, I thought more people would have noticed than did. I suppose it's one of those things that I think a lot of people, because you get a lot of customers at those events and they probably didn't realise what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get one, James?
I did. I got a bag. I got
I thought the CMA swag
badge.
was supposed to be better. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was
Did you
like
not get a
a
jacket?
notepad.
I thought they were giving out
pen.
jackets at CMA.
Oh, I didn't. No, I didn't get that. No.
What did you
Water
get then?
bottle, like a similar thing. I think I've got it down here somewhere. I've got. A few
Yeah,
bits
let's
and
see your
pieces,
badge.
but-
Come on.
Get
I
your badge
wonder
out.
if we've got the best badge. No one had a better badge than this one.
I've got a funny story about my merch actually. So so it all comes from the States because obviously ServiceNow are based out there. And I moved house between it coming to the UK and not. So actually, it went to the old address. So I had a mass panic of how do I get the merch that was supposed to come to me that's now gone to an address I don't live at anymore. It's like, do I now knock on the door? What do I do? In the end, I emailed ServiceNow and they sent me another load. But
This is just some random guy walking into Tesco's with a CTA badge on. Where have you been on it? Right, let's have a look. So we've got, do you get sent a CTA badge? We've had that. What skills do you did it teach you that you didn't already have? I think we've touched on that as well. What advice do you have for individuals? We've touched on that. Let me pick out. Let me just pick out.
nice.
The badge and the.
And you've still got the label on it, so you do use it then, obviously. So what practical knowledge? We've got that. I think we've touched on quite a bit of it. There's some wordy ones I'm going to try and get to. Let's have a look. What's the most frustrating part of being a CTA? Ooh, that'll be interesting how you answer this one.
Controversial.
It's
Isn't
probably when, and James would have experienced this with a certain customer that we've both worked for, when you are giving them advice based on your knowledge and experience, and they decide to do the complete opposite or not follow your advice. It is what
standard.
it is, but that's probably the most frustrating thing.
Yeah.
I think
yeah,
the one thing I get is when it could be colleagues or it could be customers or whoever. They'll go, "Oh, you're a CMA. You know, you should know this." So it's the expectation that because you have this badge, you're Chuck Tomasi or someone who has so much knowledge that you should know everything about ServiceNow. You know, you got that well-rounded knowledge.
Yeah, well, I think that's fair game, to be honest. I'm with them.
Yeah.
Why don't you know stuff? You should.
Well, you ping me every week.
You two got on the course. I didn't. I'm not bitter, but that's how it's going to roll. Right. I think to be honest, I think we've covered most of the questions. I think
good.
there are a couple more that are slightly more in depth. So I think in the interest of time, because we don't want to keep you, it is Friday afternoon. Should we skip to the section that I like to call? This is where we put a jingle. We've got a jingle there, right? Have we got a jingle? We have. Yes.
We need a jingle.
I like to call James's silly question. The jingle goes there. Diddly diddly.
Yeah,
right.
that's enter jingle here. Okay. Okay, so here we go, Michael. Are you ready for this?
Go for it.
So, if Bill McDermott came to you and he says, "You're a CTA, Michael. I want you to come up with a theme for the ServiceNow release names after Z that's coming up. So they need something completely new. What theme do you go for?" I'll give you a couple of examples that's been given to us, which you can't choose again. So Lauren McManaman chose Pokemon.
Every time you say it, sorry, Lauren. Sorry.
I don't. You can't laugh every time. And Jeremy chose like sports franchises, so football clubs and things like that. Do you have an idea for a theme for the ServiceNow release names?
Aeroplanes.
Aeroplanes. That's nerdy.
Okay.
Nerd
Is that
points.
for any reason or just?
So I'd say outside of work, my other big passion is probably aviation.
Okay. Okay. That was going to be one of our questions as well. Outside of ServiceNow, what's your passion? So aviation. So in terms of, I can only think of Airbus. Boeing
suppose,
767.
I suppose, yeah, if you go down the whole military route, you've got a lot more.
Blackbird.
Yeah. Tornado, Typhoon.
I see. Yeah.
Concorde. I'm doing all right. We're doing all right.
Concorde,
We've got
very
up to
good.
sea.
Yes.
So have you got a pilot's license then? Can you
I
fly?
was working towards it, but then I had kids, and that sort of stopped.
Well, yeah. That's the end of that then. That's the end of that. Nice. So
Aviation.
Michael Kelly, aviation. Chalk it up.
Aviation. Added to the list.
Okay, Michael. It has been a pleasure having you on, but now we're to the main point of this podcast, right? Ignore all the CTA stuff, right? It's interesting, but what people are really here for is, it's irrelevant, is to witness the Alphabet Challenge. Okay, so we're here for the Alphabet Challenge. So, have you heard of the Alphabet Challenge? It's real famous.
Yeah. I'm an avid listener and watcher.
We'll pay you later.
You haven't pre-prepared, have you? You haven't got a list of things.
No, I haven't got a
or
list. I
anything
was
like
thinking
that?
about it, but I didn't. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
For
Good.
the interest of anyone that's just joining us, question one is, why haven't you been here before? Go back and check all the others. But the Alphabet Challenge is where we go through the alphabet, A, B, C, and the rest is obvious. And for each letter, Michael has got to come up with a ServiceNow word or phrase that matches that letter. So A would be ACL. You can't use it. I've just said it, right? Okay.
He was banking on that.
This is how it's going to go. For each, and the time limit is timed, right? And the winner gets absolutely nothing. But it's basically who gets through the alphabet faster. You can skip a letter. Yeah. If you skip a letter, you're going to incur a 10-second penalty. If you say something that, right, okay, this is my game. If you say something I'm not keen on, I'm going to give you a 10-second penalty. And we don't know what that is because I make it up as we go along.
Extra points for nerdiness.
There may be, at some point, I may decide to change the rules on the fly like that, right? Just throw you off course. And it might be at any time and you don't know when it's coming. Right? I can see your face just drops.
Like, what?
Right. So the whole point is anyone listening is completely unorganised. We're just going to go through the alphabet and say some words. That's pretty much it. And James, who's at the top of the leaderboard? Tell us this. Tell us who he's going to beat.
So at the moment, we have Lauren McManaman, who is currently at the top of the leaderboard with 6 minutes and 3 seconds. She incurred 0 penalties, by the way, so she went through it with honour as well. So, didn't have to pass and things like that. She thought of those answers and went all the way through.
Correct.
It was pointed out that if someone did pass all the way through, you may well beat that time quite considerably.
That is not allowed.
If you do so, you will be disallowed. You will be disqualified immediately. Not invited back on. No retweets or reposts.
In fact, this episode will never surface.
No, this is completely pointless saying this. No, all the best of luck. I will be the timekeeper today.
Mate.
And Russ will take you through the letters. So let me know when you want me to do the countdown.
Okay. Are you ready, Michael?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Do you know what? I love this bit. I love it how everyone sits
know.
forward and braces themselves. Love it.
That's it.
Go on, James. Count us in.
Right. 3, 2, 1. Begin.
A.
A.
You're not allowed ACL.
Autocorrect.
Yeah, go on then. B.
Business rule.
Nice.
C.
Go-to, isn't it?
Client script.
Yes.
D.
Domain separation.
You mentioned that
yes.
3 times now. I think you've got a bit of a thing for domain separation. If there's any customers out there looking for domain sep, I've found your man. The one and only. E.
Yeah.
E.
You're not allowed email, by the way.
Execution script.
Uh,
Execution rule.
yeah, go on then. Go on.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Sounds good.
It's Friday.
F.
You're not allowed
Flow
flow designer. No. I told you I was
You're not
going to change
allowed
the
flow
rules.
designer.
No, I don't think so.
That's been given. We'll have another.
Right, listen. He's a CTA. You better come up with something better than flow designer.
Really?
Or field service management. You're not allowed that one over. I'm only kidding. You can have flow designer. Let's keep going.
Flow design is fine.
Glide record.
We've got some delay tactics. I hope you. Doesn't put you off too
Host?
much.
Yep.
Host.
Why?
I,
Some moody
for anyone
music
that's
over this,
listening.
by the way.
Moody is just more dramatic.
Yeah, true.
Skip.
I usually do like a skip.
Skip.
Oh, we
pass.
skipped.
One pass.
Penalty.
Oh,
Jelly.
penalty.
Yelly.
Yes. Nerdy.
Knowledge base.
Yes.
It's where it gets hard. It's like I
Oh.
think it should be obvious, but
Ow. Look
I
up.
don't even know.
Look up rule.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Not
Mid
had that one.
server.
Yes.
Yes, ITOM.
Nebula. It's the language they use to write the
Oh, Nebula. I'll just believe you. Let's just go. I don't know.
Object.
They're a bit easy, but go on. I'm going to give you on the next 3. If you come up with something ITOM related, I'm going to give you some extra points at the end.
Protocol for P.
Oh God, that was too easy. Right. Okay.
You. Quick test.
Yeah.
Quick test. Yeah.
Uh,
Didn't see that one coming.
No, it was good though.
Run book.
Yes.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Some of these we haven't had before.
Script include
No.
for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it. So it starts to get hard at the end. It takes a
Ooh.
long time.
Task.
Task.
You're thinking of the easy ones. It's not fair. There's nothing I can do. I
No,
can't
still
stop it.
counts.
Update set for you.
Yeah.
Yes. This is a good time, by the way.
You wait.
Um,
You wait till I throw the curveball where you've got to go and find an item in the house.
Yeah.
skip V.
New rules.
Can't do V.
Skip V.
Skip,
Skip V.
Oh, I think you're using the skips very well.
What?
Oh, you're gonna say it.
No. W. No, can't do one for W. Skip.
Oh, you nearly said something then.
You literally said it.
X. Right.
X.
Xylophone.
That yellow does really suit you, by the way. I'm just thinking.
Did you say it doesn't suit me or does?
No, I said it does. It matches your wallpaper behind you.
Oh, yeah.
Blend in.
Yes. And all my duckies. I
Cross
do want to play with a hat.
cross-site scripting in security.
Yeah, go for it. I like that. I'm giving you extra points for that. Please, James, make a note of that.
Points.
This is the one everyone gets
Oh,
stuck
this is so hard. This one. I really want someone to say something decent here.
on. I want someone to say something
I
that's
can't
just
think of anything.
I want to say there's time in the bank if you did.
Z is Z boot.
Z boot.
Oh.
Yeah, you're right, Z boot.
Yeah,
Stop the clock.
Okay. All right. Stop the clock. Stop. Okay. I need to do a bit of sums here. Okay.
Boo.
Oh, don't worry. That'll be going on there.
Yeah. Are we given
Go on,
extra
then.
points? Are we given time off for the cross site?
Well, I shouted it out. Have you already given extra points? But I don't know what
mean,
extra
what
points
does
mean.
points
But
mean to time? I don't know.
I don't know.
We can give points.
we'll-
We can say you got this time and bonus points.
Right. There was one he got, which was ITOM, a bit of ITOM nerdish on P for protocol. So you can cancel out one of the skips if that makes your calculations easier.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think next time we should do it backwards, quickly. Right, come on. What are the scores?
I have the final scores.
An approved list of one for everything. Have you been through that process yet?
No, of course we haven't.
No.
And we never will.
And by the way,
Come
I
on,
think
then.
when we did it, I think our time must have been something like 8 or 9 minutes or
Oh,
something really
was horrific.
rubbish. At
And-
Christmas
and-
time, it was really bad.
And to make matters worse, it was both of us doing it, right? So
I
there
know.
was two of us. Can I just say, right, that's more embarrassing for you. You're a CMA. You should know everything.
Oh, he's used the card. He's used the card.
Right, come on.
The swag.
What are the scores?
Get it?
Come on, what's the scores?
All right. Okay. So time to beat, as a reminder for everybody out there. So, Lauren, 6 minutes, 3 seconds. Michael did it in 5 minutes, 24.
Ooh.
Oh,
I think you used those passes incredibly well, where others have just deliberated for way too long. So I think you played a really good game there.
I think I'm going to have to change the game slightly. So even with my annoying chatter, because I know I'm annoying, and trying to change a bit of the rule, it's still, that's not fair. I think we need to come up with something a bit more tricky. I'll work on it. I like the idea of sending you off around the house, going to grab items that begin with that letter, but then it's got nothing to do with ServiceNow. Nothing to do with ServiceNow.
We'll try our best to kind of like, just really distract you as much as possible. Mention random conversations.
Maybe you're allowed like Google and you've got to find our product doc that, no, because you can just put a set in. No, right. Anyway, ignore that. Yeah. Well done, Michael. I think
congratulations. You're now number one on our leaderboard.
Yeah, and you get absolutely nothing. So well done for that.
Oh, yeah. I guess. Well, thank you, Michael, for joining us, taking part in our game, telling us all about the CTA program, and obviously bigging it up and telling us what's involved and the value behind it as well. I guess we'll just leave it with any further comments. Do you have anything else to add, Michael, or anything that you want to kind of add to the podcast at this point?
No, I think thanks for having me on, gents. Like I said, it's been fun. It's been weird to be on the other side. Usually I'm sitting there listening to you guys for an hour, which is always
Are you going to watch this one back?
I don't know.
Never listen to yourself. Never listen to yourself. That's why our edits are rubbish. We just don't listen to stuff back. But on that note there, Michael, it's been an absolute pleasure. And season 3, we'll have to get you back to see if you can beat your time. But on that note, I think remains us to say, I've been Russ.
I've been James.
And I've been Michael.
And this is Service Ducks.